The quality of your relationships equals the quality of your life. And this is so true on so many levels. And if you have a toxic relationship in your life, and especially your intimate relationship, your girlfriend or your wife, it can be a poison for every other area in your life, your career, your friends, your family, and your health. And it is not a place that you want to be. And it's not always the obvious reasons, the bickering, the fighting, the complaining, and all the things that people associate as a toxic relationship. And in this video, I'm going to uncover and help you diagnose what I believe the 3 major causes of a toxic relationship are. The first sign that I want to talk about is this idea of the runner and the chaser. So let me break down what this means. And this is a telltale sign of a toxic relationship that's usually very non-obvious. This is usually doesn't include fighting, complaining, bickering, dissatisfaction. Those usually aren't part of the runner-chaser dynamic. So this is what I've lived out before many times, and it's kind of my pattern in a lot of previous relationships, that the runner is usually the person that is always running away from things. They're wanting to be chased. They're wanting to make things difficult. They are moving around or quitting a job, or they're taking really big unnecessary risks. So nothing wrong with risk, but they're unnecessarily adding in risk. They're maybe making things exponentially complicated when they don't need to. So this is usually the women. This is usually a female or a feminine kind of trait to be the runner. And then the chaser is usually the male. So the chaser is usually the one that's chasing after them. They're moving around with them. They're following them around the world. They're moving, they're traveling with them, or they're just chasing them around on a day-to-day in a kind of a simple way, meaning you could just, cancel plans with your friends, cancel things with your family. And this woman, this girl becomes your universe. You're chasing around from place to place, mental space to mental space, and this chase never ends. And that's a sign of a toxic relationship. It can look like a passionate one. It disguises itself as a very, very deep, fun, exciting relationship. But the reality is it's very toxic because it causes you to uproot your life constantly. You're constantly breaking things and tearing things down. And this person's constantly perpetuating the cycle over and over again. So that is the major telltale sign. And this is very hard to diagnose. But if you find yourself always chasing after your girlfriend or your wife or some girl you met or you've been hanging out with, if you find yourself always chasing and you're the one leading and driving everything, just take a step back for a second and look at, is this actually toxic? Is this causing me to do things I don't want to do? Is it causing you to make decisions you actually don't want to make? So just take some time, assess the situation, and you can determine and diagnose it for yourself. The second sign is non-obvious codependency. So this is a very interesting one because oftentimes people think of codependency as being this incredibly obvious, where you can see it written across someone's forehead, where they have to do everything with that person and they can't get around or they can't get by without this person. And that comes across as needy and unattractive, and the list goes on and on, especially for men. It's like, what the hell are you doing? Women look down upon that, yet they ask for that. Yet they ask for you to, oh, well, come with me here, do this with me, do this for me. The list goes on. But that's actually not what they want you to do. It's usually just their mind. It's a more of like a mental game and the balance of the feminine, masculine energy kind of crossing and blending. So the codependency in this case comes from you don't even notice it. And some ways to really understand this are take an inventory of your time and who else is in your life. So this is super common. If you go back to like high school or when you were younger, think of that friend. Think of that guy that maybe you were best friends with or the group of friends. And one person, one of your friends got a girlfriend. And within 2 weeks, a year or two goes by, you never hear from him again. He's just out hanging out with her. He's attached at the hip. You can't see them without one another. And that's an incredibly common sign that plays out much further in life. It happens in people in their 20s, 30s, and even their 40s, and even beyond that. And that is a sign of codependency. When you find that your life you're changing everything, the good things. You can change the bad things, or maybe things adapt and compromise slightly, but getting rid of your friends and never seeing your family and giving up on your hobbies and things that you actually enjoy, that's a sign you're actually being codependent. And it flips on both sides. So if you are doing it, chances are she's doing it as well. This is a very reciprocal type behavior. So if you're doing it, chances are she's doing the exact same thing. But hers are going to show up differently. Hers are going to show wanting to be around you all the time, feeling afraid to go out or meet new people without you, feeling insecure, losing confidence. Those are more of the feminine traits of kind of latching on to the masculine or their man in their life. That's kind of a sign of their codependency. So it's creating that balance of healthy independence and healthy kind of own life, like keeping your own life and not totally enmeshing them. Like it's good to have a somewhat of a, put together life with your girlfriend or your wife, but you don't want that to be a complete enmeshment where everything is one. So that's a sign of the non-obvious codependency. And the third and final one that I want to talk about is a loss of mission. Now, men, this is the worst one we could possibly commit, but it's the one that we usually commit most often. This is what can lead a relationship to a toxic place. So it's nothing you do, it's actually what you don't do. The problem with this is when you lose who you are, you lose your confidence, your drive, your focus on where you were going in your life. It could be your business, your career, your fitness, some of the hobbies you're really passionate about, things with your family. It doesn't matter what it is. The point is if you have that laser focus, you truly want that. And then when this girl enters your life, or maybe it's happened slower over the course of a couple years, and all of a sudden you just lose that. You just give up on it. You just let it go away. That is a sign of a loss of mission. And it's oftentimes the most justifiable thing ever. You can make excuses for days where you're just like, well, she wanted me to do this, or she wanted me to go here, or we had to do that. And you could just make excuse after excuse after excuse. But really, you're the one leading the toxicity. If you're the one who's giving up on your mission, you're giving up on where you want to go, you're the one actually starting the toxicity. This right there, that little shift, changes the poles from the masculine, feminine energy being in balance to flipping it. You have no direction, no backbone, know where you're going, and you're not a rock. You're not actually leading her. You're not leading the relationship anywhere. You're just following her along like kind of like a puppy dog. You've probably seen this, and maybe you've done this yourself. I've done it myself before too, where you aimlessly follow her and you aimlessly cling on in a way, and it's never the intention. That's not at all what you tried to do. But what happens is when you start to have a little bit of that loss of mission and you just let it slide, it's a very, very slippery slope that ends in this horrible shift in polarity, and it ends up causing toxicity in the relationship, even though you didn't intend it. And how I define toxicity in this case is not the fighting, it's not the bickering, the bantering, all that stuff that is typically associated as toxic. That's a surface level just colliding. That's just collision. That's not toxic. Toxic means you have to get out. You have to leave. It's corroding your life day by day. And when it's non-obvious, that is when it's incredibly, incredibly dangerous because it creeps up and then weeks slide into months and then that goes into years. The next thing you know, you spent 5 years with someone. You're wondering, how did we get here? So that's how I break down what I would like to consider the non-obvious but most common forms of toxicity in a relationship and how they show up in many cases, whether you've been together a month, a year, or 10 years, this can show up constantly. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you're interested in actually getting out of this cycle, you're sick of constantly being in this runner or this chaser, if you related to that one, or you feel like you've lost your mission, or you feel kind of just broken down from whether it was a breakup or you are currently in a toxic relationship that you need to get out of. Well, I'm here to help. I'm working with a very, very select group of men, one-on-one, to help them get over their breakup, rebuild their confidence, get out of these toxic situations, and really build the life and relationship that they truly want. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in and you resonate with this message, I strongly, strongly encourage you to click the first link below this video and apply to work with me one-on-one. Again, like I said, I'm working with a very select group of men and I do not have a lot of spots available. So if you're interested in that at all, click the first link down below to learn more about that. So again, I want to thank you for watching the video all the way to the end and look forward to seeing you in the next.